Let's do this. Welcome to Chapel Hill, North Carolina. We're at the University of North Carolina basketball practice facility. Think of all the greats that have come through this basketball program. The James Worthies, the Vince Carters, the Michael Jordans. Jordan, look at that! On and on and on. Not only do you have to have great players and a great team, but you have to have a great coach, a hard-working coach, a gym rat, somebody that lives in places like this, like Coach Roy Williams.
Welcome to the Dean Smith Center in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, where the Roy Williams era is about to begin.
I'm James Bates, this is Portraits, and this is gonna be one heck of a show. I guarantee it. Roy Williams, let's go. Ah, so close.
James Bates open, take 44.
Hey, I'm the one they call James Bates, but my real name is Bates. I was a co-captain and all-SEC linebacker on the Florida Gator National Championship football team.
Number 44, James Bates.
These days, I'm a family guy, a broadcaster,
with James Bates,
and an artist, you know, like portraits and stuff. Kind of like the title of this show, Portraits, where we feature some of the more colorful characters in all the world of sports. Enjoy. You know, a mentor is someone who sees more talent within you than you might even see within yourself. Someone to cheer you on, someone to show you the way, someone to point you in the right direction. Roy Williams was fortunate enough to have more than a few people like that in his life. Of course, there was Dean Smith, but long before there was Dean, there was a man named Buddy Baldwin who left a lasting mark on young Roy. I've heard you say, I never dreamed of being Coach Dean Smith. I dreamed of being Coach Baldwin.
I wanted to be like my high school coach, Buddy Baldwin. He's the one that gave me confidence. He's the one that talked me into going to college and started thinking about it into my sophomore, start of my junior year in high school. I'd done pretty well as academics in high school, and I was offered a scholarship to go to Georgia Tech to be an engineer. I didn't want to be an engineer. I decided I wanted to be a coach, and particularly a basketball coach. So I made a decision to come to North Carolina because of Buddy Baldwin's influence. He thought it would be a place that I could learn more with Coach Smith and thought I'd have a chance to play on the freshman team. And so I did that, but then I needed some money. After basketball was over with my freshman year, 24 hours a week, my entire college career, I worked. A lot of it was in the intramural office. And I would stop in Carmichael and sit down and watch practice for 30 minutes with Coach Smith, and I would take notes. Coach Guthridge was my coach on the freshman team. He said, do you think it's okay if I sit up there for a few minutes when I just come by and watch practice? For me, it was a great learning experience, and later on, I kept some stats for Coach Smith during the varsity games. I tried to do a good job, and Coach Smith evidently thought I did a good job.
When you had to ask permission to sit up in the stands and take notes, and Dean Smith, he could have run you out of there.
You know, I've said this before, and I really believe it. I think he's the greatest basketball coach that ever lived. He was the best teacher. He was extremely bright. He believed in what he was doing.
Every time down the court, let's get a good shot.
But he was far better off the court than he was on the court because he cared about people. And I can say that with a capital C, he cared. It was down to the core. He cared about that player for the rest of his life.
He made you a better basketball coach, and from everything that I know about you, you probably had a lot to do with off the court. He made you a better man.
The experiences and the feel for people and the right way to do things. It was an incredible experience for me and have as much knowledge as I had working with him for those 10 years. I could have gone to a lot of great coaches and spent 10 years with them, but there was nobody like Dean Smith.
Imagine Dean Smith deciding you're the one. He wants to make you better, put you under his wing, show you the ropes.
Be sure to listen to that one shining moment on TV when you get home.
Pretty cool, huh? Yeah, but long before the national championships, the All-Americans, the Coach of the Year awards, Roy Williams had to pay his dues. Well, you were getting paid when you first got here less than your high school coach, or less than, definitely than you and Wanda combined were making
1978, 79. Coach Smith asked me to come back and be the part-time assistant. Full-time job, part-time pay. $2,700 is what I was paid the entire year. I drove copies of the football coach's show and the basketball, Coach Smith's basketball show. And I'd drive a copy to Greensboro, drive a copy to Asheville, and turn around and drive back. That's 504 miles every Sunday. But they paid me $113. And so I thought it was the greatest deal in the world. I'd sold calendars, and that's the way that we did things to make money to feed my family. So I became best daggum calendar salesman you've ever seen.
Check this out. One of the original calendars right here. Coach Roy Williams used to drive around the entire state selling so he could be on the staff of Dean Smith. Hard work pays off, Coach. You weren't driving and texting or on your Twitter in those days, so what would you just listen to music?
In the car on the way to the games, I would play different songs, Michael Jackson, Temptations. I love soul music. Many, many times I played Marvin Gaye's Let's Get It On.
Oh.
You know, and it was a different Let's Get It On than what I was talking about, but that whole mentality, let's go, we're coming to play today, big boy. And then all of a sudden, some people got me sort of focusing a little more on country music, so I love country music now. Luke Bryan has a song, By Dirt, and in the song, he's got a lyric that I paraphrase a little bit, but it fits me perfectly. It said, find something you love to do and call it work. And I was able to do that for 48 years, and that's pretty good.
Ah, yeah, welcome back to Portraits. Towns surrounding the Carolina mountains are treated to beautiful sights in the fall, orange and golden brushstrokes as the leaves change. It brings in tourists and sightseers, but was a common backdrop for Roy Williams, who was born in Marion and later raised outside Asheville. It's where Coach learned the value of hard work from a key family figure. Let's talk about those days and what family meant to you with your mom, such a wonderful lady that really kind of set the tone of who you were to be, it seems.
Yeah, you know, my mom had 10 brothers and sisters. My father had 13. So when we had gatherings, reunions, there were a lot of people there, and the cousins, they were thousands, I felt like, in my generation. But, you know, there were some things that weren't great. You know, my dad, he was an alcoholic, married 5 times. My mom was his first, but he was a good man, and I still believe that to this day. After the age of 10, my dad was never around, and my mama was the angel of the world. She did everything that needed to be done to make sure that I had what I needed. It wasn't a lot of things necessarily that you had because you wanted it, but she worked her tail off.
What are some of your most vivid memories of just the everyday with her?
Just her work ethic. I mean, it was incredible. On Sunday nights, people would bring her dress shirts, pants, dresses, and she would iron clothes for 3 or 4 hours on Sunday night. That's another way that she supplemented her income. And when I was in the 8th grade is when it really hit me. I would leave because I didn't want to see her do that. And so I would walk down the street and up the hill and get to the elementary school and go in and play basketball every Sunday night by myself just because I didn't want to be there. Sports was another way to get away from some of the bad stuff. And so it was something that if it was a ball, you could bounce it, shoot it, hit it, or kick it. I liked it.
Young Roy continued with sports throughout his school days and of course turned out to be a pretty good basketball player. Enough for Ray to earn all Western Carolina recognition. Did I just call him Ray? Wait, is it? Wait. Have I been calling him the wrong name the whole time? It's Roy Williams, right? Or is the O silent or? No, okay, good. I thought it was me. Whew, that was a close one. Well, back to young Roy, who used sports as an escape in his childhood days, but he was influenced by his mother, Mimi, whose work ethic was second to none. And you know, one of my favorite Roy Williams stories involves her, Roy, and Pop. I think I need to animate it. When I hear you talk about your mom, it's the story of the dime. If you wouldn't mind sharing that with us, that's a good one.
Yeah, it's a lot of times I even get emotional even talking about it, and it was 100 years ago. But I'm like in the 5th, 6th, 7th grade, and we would walk from school home. A couple of times my sister would be on the bus and it would turn into the school and she would see me and a couple of my buddies sitting at the Ed Wilson service station. And she said something about seeing me sitting there almost every afternoon and everybody get a Coca-Cola. And I didn't get one. So my mom, she heard my sister say something about it, and she said, "What are you talking about?" And I said, "Well, we just stop down there and everybody gets a Coke." And she said, "What do you drink?" I said, "Mom, I just get some water, I'm okay." The next morning I got up and there was a dime sitting on the kitchen table. And it was something that, until I got out of elementary school, it was there every morning. So it's something that she just didn't want me to be different. So she would, every week she'd get paid and she'd get a roll of the dimes. So she'd have the dimes to leave me on the table in the morning.
There ain't no Bitcoin. No, that's just a dime. Heck, in this day and age, you see that on the street, you might not even pick it up. But back when Roy was young, this dime was an opportunity that Mimi gave him to buy a Coca-Cola. And it was also a life lesson that would stick with Roy Williams. All right, Coach, looking pretty good. Now, you had a lot to do with this being built when you came back, correct?
Well, you know, it depends on how you say a lot to do with. I'm not a designer, I don't have a great imagination, but I came back in the spring of 2003, and we win the championship in 2005.
There is a new dean in college basketball. North Carolina takes the title.
I'd been around the country and seen some museums, seen some Hall of Fames that said, we need to do this. You know, there's some great programs out there. We're not by ourselves, but there's nobody above us either.
I like it. Well, let's get to know the family. Come on, show us around.
The picture right there, that's me and my wife Wanda when we were both in college. And this outside the steps at Carmichael Auditorium. And that book in my hand is that book right there, Calculus with Analytic Geometry. I did take that and I did pass.
How did you and Wanda meet?
9th grade Algebra 1 class. We didn't date going in high school at all, but we both came to Chapel Hill to go to college. So it sort of evolved there. My basketball teammate was her boyfriend. He'd come down to see her and stay with me. And then my girlfriend would come down to see me and stay with Wanda. And about January, we decided to get rid of the middle people. So this summer, July 28th, we hit 49 years. So
wow.
I've been the luckiest guy around.
I played at Florida, graduated from the University of Florida. I'm a proud Florida Gator, and I teach a class there. And I can't even describe how proud it makes me to go in to make the University of Florida that much better every day. But to come back to your school and Wanda's school, and to be the head coach and to have success.
3 of the last 4 years, guys from their alma maters have won the national championship. Gary Williams, Boeheim, and now Roy Williams.
I mean, I'm getting goose pimply just thinking about it.
You know, I think a couple of things. I mean, again, this is our school, and our children went to school here. Our grandchildren will go to school here too, because they're all going to be very bright, and they know if they come to school here, they'll stay in my will, so they'll make a good choice, that kind of thing. But no,
they're not going to go to state?
No, they won't go anywhere else.
Okay.
You know, if you cut meats, people think it's going to come out red, but I think it'll come out Carolina blue.
You know, as soon as I was finished with the interview with Coach Roy Williams, I couldn't wait to start this. You know, he's so clean cut with his daggums, but there's also that side of him that's as tough as can be. He told me that he's the most competitive person he knows. Think of that. All the greats that he's coached, all the incredible athletes that he's coached, and he says he's more competitive than all of them. So I'm gonna work on the plaid, but I don't know, I might have to add like a little neck tattoo or something just to show that hardcore side of Coach. Oh yeah, there it is. Welcome back to Portraits, everyone, and welcome to the Dean Dome. Named after a towering figure in the history of North Carolina basketball, Dean Smith, Coach Smith may have played college ball at Kansas in the early 50s, but once he arrived in Chapel Hill in 1958 as an assistant, he stayed at Tar Heel for nearly 40 years. And the center of it all, fittingly, is Coach Dean Smith, and in the center of your basketball coaching career as well.
No question about it. They call it the Smith Center. don't forget that. But the things that he taught our players and our people, the fans, the program, it was just so positive in every way he did.
We're coming back right now.
I would never have been the head coach at Kansas. Coach Smith played at Kansas, played for the great Doc Allen, but he had such an influence there. That's the reason I got the head coaching job at Kansas, and the respect that everybody had for him. Needless to say, everything that Roy Williams has been credited with credit should be given to Coach Smith.
Coach Williams has been with us a number of years, and he's turned down major head college jobs, and I think he'll probably be taking one, maybe next year, maybe the next year. He's a superb teacher and a very bright individual whom we think just does a fabulous job.
When people see you sitting on the Carolina bench over to Coach Smith's left, what is your role during a game for the Tar Heels?
Try to keep my heart beating until the game's over. No, one of the things I do, John, is I try to keep a chart that says what offense we call and what the result was, whether we got a good shot, a bad shot, turned it over.
Kenny Smith for three. Bingo.
So I keep that, and then we look at it some at halftime and gives us an idea of which things are working and which aren't.
So I'm guessing you have a lot of fingerprints, a lot of hours in on this projector right here.
That's the analytics projector that we used to use when I was his assistant. And funny story is, this is a good one. The projector, we took it on the road with us. His coach would watch film in his room, and so every year the upperclassmen got to vote on which freshman carried the projector. So you got it. Michael Jordan's freshman year, Michael Jordan carried that projector.
Michael Jordan, whoa!
And it's heavy, and I mean, you got your team bag and your clothes, and Michael's got the projector too, and the upperclassmen just love that. So the next 2 years, Michael was involved in choosing which freshman got it, but Michael Jordan carried that projector.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now freshmen just got to carry around an iPhone or something like that.
That's
wow. That's fun.
Just came in with a clear mind and ready to play basketball. Do what coach asked me to.
It was part of freshmen paying their dues. Coach Smith was very strong about that, and the upperclassmen loved it and the freshmen didn't, but then they got to be sophomores, juniors, seniors, and then they thought it was the greatest thing.
Whew. Thanks a lot, Coach. Wish you hadn't told that story. Now the camera crew, they liked it so much they want me carrying around the tripod and the camera all the time. Ugh. Relax. I just want to take some pictures. But you know what? You got to pay your dues. That's what Roy did. Spent 10 years on Dean Smith's staff and then off to Rock Chalk Jayhawk, baby. With all the success Roy Williams had at UNC, you could forget he was at another college basketball blue blood, Kansas.
Kansas continued that North Carolina tradition by taking an assistant coach off Dean Smith's staff.
From '88 until the end of the 02-03 season, Coach Williams did everything but win a title, leading the Jayhawks to 418 wins, 9 conference championships, and 4 Final Fours, even beating Dean Smith in the 1991 NCAA Final Four.
Roy Williams is going to the championship game on Monday night.
After Dean retired in '97, the Heels limped along a bit until UNC came calling for Roy. But Coach had the likes of Drew Gooden, Kirk Heinrich, and Nick Collison out on the floor. Yeah, Coach promised Nick that he would coach him the whole time he was at KU, and he's a man of his word. But after Collison graduated, his phone rang again, and it was a familiar number.
There is no way I could have gone to any other program and coached for 10 years like I did with Coach Smith and been able to leave and have as much knowledge as I had working with him for those 10 years.
You were able to say no when he and the folks in Chapel Hill came and asked you to come back here the first time.
But I loved it there. I mean, I had so many of those great kids I loved and still love to this day. But the leadership at the school, the athletic director, and things had just changed. Nick Collison was graduating, Kirk Heinrich was graduating. I'd promised Nick that I was going to be there his entire career. So then all of a sudden, Dick Baddour and Coach Smith, they call again. And I never had any inclination that I would ever have another chance and didn't care. I was going to be content at Kansas the rest of my life because I loved it. But yeah, Coach Smith said, you know, I wanted you last time, but we need you this time, and I never forgot that.
Yeah, Coach, we're not in Kansas anymore. The braids look good, though. Want to do those? Maybe we should have kept that for a while, huh? Hey, when we come back on Portraits, Coach Roy Williams returns to Chapel Hill to rebuild a proud Carolina basketball program. Stay right there. Yep, old Roy's humble background and work ethic sure led to some success. But the main ingredient? Hard work. Hard work means so much to Coach Roy Williams that he made it the title of his autobiography. Yeah, you could say that, well, he's a case study. Perfect example that hard work can definitely lead to greatness. On to the NBA. You're gonna need some more space pretty soon here,
yeah,
Coach.
There'll be some more guys. You go all the way back. Lenny Rosenbluth was the National Player of the Year in 1957. I was 7 years old. Okay, so I have nothing to do with most of this thing, but Lenny and Pete Brennan, those guys, the first two names up there were Coach McGuire's guys, won the championship in '57.
North Carolina did it! North Carolina wins the championship!
I was lucky. I was a head coach at Kansas and North Carolina for 33 years and had 33 guys who ended up being #1 draft choices. And we always want to honor them because every kid nowadays has a dream of being an NBA player. And if you come to North Carolina, the pedigree, the history that we have, it helps you understand what you have to do. You go to Dayron Sharp, Cole Anthony, Nasir, you go all the way up. I guess my first one was right in here, '05, Marvin Williams.
Just like that, Williams.
And all those guys right there, and some of them are still playing. Dayron, Cole, Nasir, Cam, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 guys are still playing.
Oh, Nasir Little brings the thunder.
If you're on this board, that means you worked your butt off, and that's the way to get there.
Recovered Marvin, he scores! 17-second clip!
You hang your hat on hard work. Anything you read on Roy Williams, no one's going to outwork you. Obviously, hard work is what got all these, even with their talent, but is there any one or two that stand out, maybe even above the rest?
Three greatest athletes, in my opinion, with their focus and their determination, their desire, was Tiger Woods, Michael Jordan, and Tyler Hansbrough.
The head Hansbrough.
Tyler Hansbrough's right here. He was National Player of the Year. He was first team All-American 4 years in a row. And whatever he did when he got up in the morning until he went to bed at night was to try to be the best athlete he could be. Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods had more focus than anybody I've ever seen. But it was because his determination, his hard work, he was a different bird.
Sean May is back.
The alley-oop to May for the slam dunk. The alley-oop. Oh,
Roy Williams, father figure, friend, confidant, coach. The year before I got here, Carolina basketball was at its lowest.
And it's a turnover. Who would have thought it?
So he had to bring that back.
1, 2, 3, together. And that sends the Tar Heel faithful into cheers of delight.
I think he also brought back the family culture.
As long as we understand it's North Carolina, we can beat anybody.
And he reconnected all those pieces. All those guys from that year, we were extremely close because we set out a task at the beginning of the year and then we accomplished it.
it's over. Carolina has won the national championship.
For us to be a part of bringing a championship back to North Carolina, That's what meant the most to us. I couldn't ask for a better coach and a better person to be a part of my life.
And then you got to get lucky as well, too. I'm going to wear this at the regional final up in Syracuse, and it worked and got us to the Final Four.
How about them Tar Heels?
I said, well, I'm not going to wear it at the semifinals. I'm going to save it, and I'm going to wear it on the national championship night.
They are the national champions.
Is that now part of your lucky charm?
Now let's see, you hold your breath when you drive past the cemetery. Everybody does that, right? You live an extra day, you gotta do that. You don't pass the salt and hand it to someone, you gotta set it on the table when you pass the salt. Oh, here's one. If you won a national championship with UNC in 1982, then you have to wear those shorts underneath your bull shorts. Michael Jordan did that. Yep, he did that. And I betcha that Coach Roy Williams has a few little quirks of his own. The superstitions, the suits, it's kind of carried on, went from socks to suits. Any other superstitions outside of clothing?
Oh gosh, millions. None of them are interesting.
Hell yeah, they are, Coach. There's no such thing as worthless information.
Well, you know what it is as a coach, you can't control very many things because the players got to play. And I stand over and yell run, and the players still play, and all I do is just stand over and act like I know what I'm doing. So the superstitions are just taking care of the things that I can control.
Okay.
You know, so if I wear a coat and a tie and we win, I'm going to wear it again. The routine that I do before the game, every game is exactly the same thing. Talk to the team, they go out, I go use the bathroom, I look at my checklist, and I walk out at a certain time on the court. I would never vary more than 60 seconds. But those are just things that I felt like that I could control, and I like the routine. I can handle change, but change better work, because if not, I'm gonna stick with my routine if I know it works, so that's what it is.
Are there any away from basketball, like, do you have some favorite numbers?
At one time, a combination to the locker at Kansas, 7-23-34. Ricky Mantle, my favorite baseball player, 23, Michael Jordan, my favorite basketball player, and 34 for Earl Campbell, my favorite football player.
Earl Campbell, love you blue, and it was the right shade of blue.
Right shade of blue.
Bum Phillips.
Bum had a great line that I've used. Tyler Hansbrough or Michael Jordan, when they asked if Earl Campbell was at the top of the list, he said, well, if he's not at the top, it doesn't take long to call the roll. I'm a meat and potatoes guy. People think I'm prehistoric with my attitude because I don't have an email. If you call me, I can call you back. If you text me, I can text you back. If you ask me something about Instagram, I got no freaking idea what you're talking about. Don't care. I'm pretty simple. Enjoy watching athletic events in any sport, particularly college athletics. For me, it's about my team. It's about family. Some things that, if they're good, you know, I stick with them.
I am a real Carolinian. You know, if you think about it, UNC fans have pretty much had a front row seat to some of the greatest college basketball ever played. Talking way back old school heels like Bobby Jones, Walter Davis, Bob McAdoo. Yeah, and you know who's been there pretty much for the whole run? Coach Roy Williams. Daggum, he's kind of like the Forrest Gump of college basketball, isn't he? Mama said they was my magic shoes. She said they'd take me anywhere. This display right here, Coach, it has so much to do with it feels like where we are today. And all of this that's happened had a lot to do with Phil Ford, didn't it?
Phil Ford was the greatest point guard I've ever seen in person day after day after day, and he was the epitome of what you want as a leader. He was a consummate team player. When he left school here, he had more points than anybody, more assists than anybody. He was an ACC most outstanding player of the tournament as a freshman.
Phil Ford has done it, a freshman, voted most valuable player.
Made Coach Smith even more famous with the four corners. We would spread the floor and give Phil the ball in the middle of the court, and the game was over with because they couldn't take it away from him. He would either drive in and get a layup or get somebody else a layup, or he'd get fouled.
And you had a lot to do with helping to bring him here on campus.
I was in graduate school. I became known as the best basketball official on campus. And I run into Coach Guthridge and said, why don't you come and referee at our camp? Coach Smith says, He wants Phil to have a great camp experience. He told me to find the best official that he could find. So every time Phil drove, if they barely touched him, I called a foul on that guy. And if Phil took a charge, I gave it to charge to Phil. There's a chance he could bleed Carolina blue, too.
You told me on Friday you felt a little nervous going into this tournament. How do you feel now?
I feel excited. I'm ready to rejoice and everything, get ready for the NCAA.
Well, Coach, kids these days, they like to talk about their shoes. They're, Jordans, of course, are the star of the show. But these really are probably the Jordan 1s, but they're made by Converse. And these were Michael Jordan's shoes back in '82.
This is a spot again on the court where he made the jump shot that was the winning points in the game against Georgetown to win the '82 national championship. It says down here, quote, "Knock it in, Michael." I do remember as we're leaving the huddle, I thought Coach Smith did his greatest coaching moment of his entire life. Coach Smith knew that ball coming back to Michael on the weak side was going to be a possibility. As we're walking out, he patted Michael on the backside and said, "Michael, if you get it, knock it in." Needless to say, he jumped up and made a big-time shot.
Jordan jumper from out on the left. Good! The Tar Heels are going to win the national championship!
Making that shot gave him the confidence. He knew he could push himself. He's the greatest to ever play the game of basketball.
I just thought in my mind that what if I had to take the last second shot? I just felt my chance came, and I just had to keep my concentration, do the best I could.
What is he like these days out on the golf course? How competitive does it get when it's you and him out there golfing for $100 or whatever?
Michael Jordan's a different animal. I think I'm the most competitive person that I've ever known in my life. Michael's there too.
Yeah.
Michael's worked so hard at the game. At one time I could beat him, now he'd beat me like a drum. But we've had some good matches over the years when we've been partners against other people. I admire him. I have a great deal of respect for him, but truly love him as a friend. Michael set a standard that nobody will ever mark.
Now that Coach Roy Williams is no longer on the bench coaching college basketball, there's a pretty good chance you'll find him out on a golf course somewhere. And boy, is he competitive. I mean, like, really, really competitive. Where did the love for golf start?
My high school coach was one of the best amateur golfers in the state, so I learned a little bit about it from him, and he was a great golfer and passionate about it. And after I stopped playing basketball after my freshman year, I wanted some way to compete. So I chose golf. As a head coach in college, it was the only place that I could go and not be worried about what I needed to do. So it was an escape for me too. The lowest my handicap was a 3. I became a college assistant, it went to 5 or 6. I became a college head coach, it went to 8 or 9. I became an old retired guy and it went to 10 or 11. I do enjoy teeing it up in the competition of golf. I love it.
Coach, I'm not kidding when I say I haven't had a golf club other than a putt-putt club in my hand in 12 years.
He can't beat me. He's got no hope.
Oh, you didn't know they could do that, did you? A lot of people don't know that. It's like a Swiss Army putter. Yeah, Coach Roy Williams is right. Hard work pays off. And I've been working hard on my golf game. I've been playing golf, long before they had the three-point line on the golf courses. But you gotta work hard when you're going against one of the best, right? Coach Roy Williams is pretty good. What color ball do you think he'll choose, huh? That's right, red don't go around here. This is gonna be fun. Here he comes. Well, I brought my putt-putt putters. There's not a good putt-putt course around here. Which one of these would you want? Would
No, you use that. I'm gonna use mine. What?
Yeah, you got the bad back. That's a good excuse, but you're already making excuses, Coach.
No,
At one point, I thought you thought maybe you might be the greatest golfer on earth.
No.
But now I'm starting to feel a lot of excuses.
No.
I'm gonna use this red. You won't get intimidated if I pick up the red putter, will you?
Red has never bothered me because we beat their butts so many times.
Okay.
There you go.
Boom.
We'll put it a couple of them and then we'll have competition.
Okay.
I hit that one too hard. All right, so I showed you how it breaks.
Coach, huh? That's it. Let's go home now. Oh, man.
Stop that right there, boys. The golf course is the only place that I could go, even when I was coaching, that I could get away. I enjoy being out here. I enjoy the competition with my buddies.
Wow, and at least you're able to flip that switch and to turn it off, because a lot of them, they can't even do that.
If I hadn't had golf, my life as a basketball coach would have been much shorter. Oh, there's the real guy showed up that time.
Coach, I'm on today, Coach, huh? I might need to team up with you sometime.
I tell you what, son. Is he really any good, or is that
No,
just...
it's false advertising. It's false advertising, I promise.
Had it on the wrong side of the hole to start with. Okay, you got to get it inside this one, or I would not take you as a partner.
It's the only putter I've ever had that you have to make sure it's tight and it doesn't break down on you before every putt.
It fits your game.
That took a second. All right, here we go.
It took you a second to catch that one, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. You've made 2 great putts, and other than that, you've been awful.
Not even close.
Not even close.
Yeah, I'll bet you there are quite a few daggums that have been thrown right here on your home course.
Oh, yeah. I'm not perfect by any means. I curse some.
You can ask any daggum question you want.
Man's got all the money in the world, can't afford any daggum Jordan. Let's talk about something else, God almighty.
When I first became a head coach at Kansas in 1989, I promised my team I would use no more than 7 curse words all year. And all my players told me later on that my curse words shouldn't even count as curse words, you know, it wasn't as bad.
They got a daggum bottle up here, it's not supposed to be here.
Y'all thought it was great that year we won the sucker. It's going to be a 20-point butt whipping, too.
Everybody's worn out, but golly bum, you've got so much excitement.
So don't give me any of that stuff.
That's all Roy Williams did. I didn't do one other daggum thing.
How about let's put something on the line here, though.
Okay, all right.
I got $60.
You got it.
If I beat you, though, you have to tell those guys in the equipment room that they have to give me a nice pair of Jordans.
Did you just wake up yesterday?
You're the greatest in the world.
$60 for a pair of Jordans, that'll get you a lace.
Couple laces.
We could put these long ones a long time before we make them.
Closest to the hole.
Closest to the hole. All right, I'm giving you an advantage again. I'm showing you the line. Yeah, look at that. Don't be afraid to hit it, because that ball rolls fast. That's going to be a pretty good putt. That's going to be a pretty good putt.
Close.
I think you may have won that one.
Man, I'm going to make my own museum now.
The only bad thing, what size are you?
12.
That's a bad answer. 9.5, I can take care of you.
Oh.
You realize I made that bet. There's one problem.
What's that?
I'm no longer the basketball coach. I can't go in there and get shoes, so I owe you.
Okay, that's a deal.
And as long as I owe you, you'll never go broke.
Give me one moment in time where I'm more than I thought I could be. Wow. For a guy who doesn't golf, feel pretty good right now. That is exactly how it's going to feel when they come. They haven't come yet. I've just got an old pair of Crocs in here right now because it's all I have. Yeah, these actually have a hole in them, so if you wouldn't mind hurrying them up, huh? Stay right there. More portraits when we come back. Give me one moment in time. Think of how many hours Roy Williams spent in a basketball gym.
Go, go, come on, Joel. There he is, right back. That's the way it's supposed to look, attaboy. It's a wonderful day, a great day in the neighborhood.
And he was meant to be a basketball coach. He was meant to be in that gym.
Right here, I look around, we're good enough to win a national championship, and that's one of our goals. All right, but you got to put forth the effort and intensity every single day.
And that's why it was important for us to shoot his interview in that practice gym, where it all goes down, behind the scenes. Had plenty of Carolina blue. Good thing I had some left over from that Mac Brown shoot. And like Mac Brown, where I added a little bit of burnt orange for a good measure, his days there in Austin, I think I'm gonna make this pocket scarf with some red and some blue. No, not a Duke blue, and no, not an NC State red. KU Jayhawk colors, because you gotta tip the cap to the time that he spent in Lawrence, Kansas. Do you miss it?
I miss the coaching tremendously. The locker room, the bus trips, the practice out on the court, the pushing of the kids.
North Carolina basketball is Dean Smith, Bill Ford, Michael Jordan. And now, North Carolina basketball is going to be you for the rest of your life.
I love trying to put together a team and make sacrifices for a common goal. But I retired because I didn't think I was doing it as well, and I could not handle that.
Do you think it's because of just the way the world was with COVID?
Yeah.
Do you think that had a little something to do with it?
Things have changed, and I think COVID was big for me because we couldn't have, the first day of classes. Every year I had the team to my house for dessert, and all of a sudden COVID, none of my players ever went to my house. We'd talk about running out of that tunnel and listening to that crowd going crazy. And my last year as a coach, there was no crowd. And so it had something to do with it, but I made some mistakes that I didn't feel like I'd ever made. And to this day, I'll still have regrets. But it was a great, great run that I enjoyed it more than anybody ever did, more than anybody.
Pretty fun run that you got to watch.
And the North Carolina Tar Heels on Mike Krzyzewski's final night coaching in this arena, and they hand the Blue Devils a loss.
Coach Hubert Davis is just incredible. The last student athlete I helped recruit at North Carolina before I left and went to Kansas was Hubert Davis. So we go back a long way. I admire him a great deal. I love him, and there's nobody that I would want to be our basketball coach at the University of North Carolina except Hubert Davis.
We get two exciting brands of basketball and two programs that have a lot of connection to one another historically.
Both of these head coaches succeeded Roy Williams, the three-time national champion, legendary coach. Puts up the shot, it's off! The game is over, and Kansas completes the biggest championship comeback.
People asked me if I had any contrasting thoughts at the national championship game. I said no. I said because on the North Carolina team, I recruited everybody on that team except for Brady Manick and the staff. I either recruited or coached everybody on that staff, whereas at Kansas, I had no guys. And I loved Kansas, but I didn't have any torn feelings whatsoever. And we can close right now if you want to do it this way. There's no place like the University of North Carolina basketball program. None.
Oh, how about it, huh? They don't make them like Coach Roy Williams in college basketball anymore, do they? You can tell his time in Chapel Hill has been very special to Coach, but equally, it's been just as special to the entire Tar Heel Nation. Now that, my friends, is what you call a dadgum day. We got to hear great stories from when Roy was growing up in the shadows of the Blue Ridge Mountains in North Carolina. Heck, when he got to Chapel Hill, he continued to grow in the shadow of one of college basketball's legendary coaches, Dean Smith.
I'm glad you had a chance to visit with Coach Roy Williams.
It was great hanging out in the Tar Heels official practice gym. I swear I did make a bucket or two. So close. But you know, getting out on the green in Coach's other element might have been the most fun of all. Oh, what do you say, Coach? That's it. Let's go home now. Oh, man. Yeah, I'm just as surprised as you are, but even a blind squirrel can find a putt or something like that, right?
Oh, there's the real guy showed up that time. You know the greatest thing about your putting stroke?
What's that?
The shoes you're wearing.
Yeah, I don't know, Coach. I think you're lucky that my hobby's painting, so I don't have time for the golf. Otherwise, a little bit of time out on that putting green and on the driving range, and I might be coming for you. I'm gonna get to work on this plaid, maybe a little bit of argyle, and heck, I don't know. Nice neck tattoo, what do you think? We'll see you next time. Hope you enjoyed the show.